Brooke Jones, welcome to the Uncommon Philanthropist.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So, you have an amazing job where you are vice president of the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. And so, we're going to dig in, talk more about your story, about kindness, how it truly is a form of philanthropy. And then we'll get into more about the foundation and what it does and how people can tap into the many tools and resources you guys have to really help make this world a kinder place. So, love what you're doing, and thank you so much for your time, Brooke.
My pleasure. Thank you for focusing on kindness.
Oh, yeah. Love to have these types of conversations. Well, let's start off with a little bit about you
Mhm.
and your background, because to have a job like that, you would think that, wow, kindness comes easier for some of us than others. But a lot of us have to fight for it. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story. We're going to start.
Sure, sure. Yes, I did not get to this place easily in my life. I had a rocky childhood. I had an abusive father in many ways. When I was 9, he committed suicide in the bedroom right next to me. And obviously, that was a traumatic experience in many ways. But at the age of 9, it's hard to process all of that. I was mostly afraid to go back to school because I didn't know what to expect. I felt like I was this, different person now, and friends wouldn't accept me, and teachers would look at me differently, and that kind of thing. And what I found was that when I got back, I was fully embraced by the entire school community, and the support was overwhelming. And at 9 years old, I didn't know what to do with that, but what I did realize was that that kind of kindness was so important to me and so life saving. And so over the years, I dealt with depression and anxiety and all kinds of mental health issues, likely as a result of the traumatic childhood. But I found that I was going towards medicine, right? How am I going to fix this with medicine? Because I don't know how else to fix it. So I was on quite a few medicines, and they were helping. I'm not going to say they were not helping, but I couldn't get off of them on my own without realizing what my purpose was in life. What is it I'm supposed to be doing? And so I spent a lot of years in the arts. I was doing public art project management and working in various cities, and I loved it. I loved beautifying our communities, but it wasn't enough. So at that point, I had gotten pregnant. I had my daughter. And what I realized with my daughter was that obviously I didn't want her to live any part of the childhood that I lived. And so I started to reflect that over the years, the things that got me further in life were people who were kind to me in various ways. And so I really wanted to instill that in her life. And at one point, I was looking for another job. I was just not happy with working in the arts. This job came up for the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. And I just thought, this is what I want to do. I want to show people all over the world that the impact of kindness is not just momentary. It is not, buying coffee. It's not. It's so much more and can be life-saving. And so I applied to the job. I was not at all qualified in terms of running a nonprofit or anything else, but I was so passionate about it, and I had so many ideas about where this could go, that I think my boss saw that in me, and now I am celebrating 14 years here with the foundation.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know more about the name because I've worked in marketing for a lot of years. Why random? Why random acts of kindness? Where did that word random come from, and why was that chosen?
So the story on that is that back in the mid '90s in San Francisco, there was a summer. They called it a summer of violence, and that was all over in the papers and the news. And there was a journalist who had said, let's stop focusing on random acts of violence and let's start to focus on random acts of kindness. And so that phrase was sort of coined, and then a foundation was born there in San Francisco, later purchased and brought here to Denver, where I am. And so the foundation has been here in Denver for 25 years. And I think I look at it as random are these, things that we do without thinking about it. But there are so many intentional acts of kindness that we do that I think the more we do intentional acts of kindness, the more they become part of who we are. And then they become random. Like you don't even think about it anymore. You're just doing them without thinking about it. And that's our goal, is to get people to do intentional acts of kindness so that over time they become random.
I love that. And in just kind of learning more about the work you do, it's like that practice of, you have prompts that help people thinking about, what can I do to engage in exhibiting kindness? And sometimes, it takes a cadence. Through practice, you build strength and you have more ideas, but it's
Yeah,
that intentional commitment, like, what can I do to make the world a kinder place?
exactly.
And with time, you build strength, and it just becomes more natural. Is that the kind of the,
That's exactly right. It just becomes part of who you are.
yeah, kind of like working out, It's like
Exactly.
you start off and don't know what the heck you're doing, and you feel weak, and then with time you get strong. And I think it's flexing that kindness muscle. It's
That's right. We talk about that, exactly that. We say, it's a muscle and you have to keep exercising it. You can't just hold the door open once for somebody and then say, well, I'm a very kind person. I mean, you may be, but you constantly have to practice it. And sometimes it's just unwittingly, letting somebody merge into traffic, or
That's a huge one. Is
that's
it
a huge
not?
one.
What? Why are people so angry behind the wheel?
I
What is
know.
that all about? Y'all need to do a study on that, because I do not get that one.
I know. I
What's
know.
the
And it's
point?
it's fascinating. And I drive over an hour to work every day. And so I'm on the highways and I see it all the time. And I just think, and then I'll see that car who's sort of weaving in and out, 10 minutes later at the stop sign when I get off the road. And I'm like, you didn't get anywhere.
I know. So funny. Well, tell me about the mission of the foundation.
So the mission is very simple. We want to make kindness the norm, and what we mean by that is, especially now, the news, everything around us is so negative and so divisive, and when we hear these lovely stories of kindness, which we often do, maybe at the end of a news story, or we see something pop up on our social media feed that's a heartwarming story. That's the exception to what we're seeing, right? We want to make it the norm. We want people to focus on all the good that's happening out there. There's so much
Yes.
happening,
Amen.
and we want to see that as the norm. I'd rather watch, lovely kindness stories and then catch up on today's news for 5 minutes rather than the other way around.
The last segment of the news. And they make you go through a
Exactly.
whole lot of commercials to get to the last
That's right.
segment.
That's right. And I don't know if you remember, I think a lot of people remember during COVID, there was a new thing that popped up called Good News Network. And I think it was John Krasowski who
Oh,
did it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it just went viral. People loved it. And I thought that this is what we're talking about. This is making kindness the norm.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people might mistake kindness for weakness, and it's really kind of a superpower.
Absolutely. We talk about that a lot. We have a curriculum that we offer for free to schools. And one of the things that we teach in there is vulnerability as a superpower. That being vulnerable and being humble and saying I'm sorry, or I messed up, or just saying I'm imperfect is not a weakness.
There's freedom when you and it's hard. It's kind of something you have to practice too. I've worked a lot with people in recovery and been around them, and that vulnerability and being transparent is something they really work on because they've been hiding behind the mask that, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and none of us are truly fine. We need to
Right.
be able to be transparent. And when you choose to be active in exhibiting kindness, it comes back to you. It's definitely a form of philanthropy, don't you think, Brooke?
Absolutely. It's, I think when we talk about it in terms of philanthropy, I personally believe that human beings are wired to help each other. It's how we survive as a species, right? It's not, in my mind, it is not the fittest survive, right? It's those who take care of each other survive. I think that giving of yourself, whether it's a moment, whether it's volunteering over a period of time, whatever it is, that is all kindness, that is all philanthropy. To me, it is all the same thing. Just giving of yourself. And I think that when we recognize that caring for other people is actually making us all better, ourselves personally and our community, then we realize it actually is really, really powerful.
So, do you believe you're making some headway in getting the word out about kindness and helping move that needle a little bit?
Yes, I do believe that. And, it's been hard over the years to figure out how do we measure success when you're talking about kindness. But because we have these resources that we offer, we have been able to track with schools and organizations who use our materials to say, right now we have roughly 50,000 schools all over the world that are using the materials. And the feedback that we get from them, that is millions of kids that are receiving this. The feedback we get is so wonderful. The changes that teachers see, and we did some research studies on it that showed that not only did grades go up, but disciplinary rates went down. Teachers and students felt a stronger connection to each other. Teacher to teacher felt stronger connections. There was more acceptance peer to peer. All of these things that you want to see in schools, you really just want to see it everywhere. We're able to track that and quantify it.
Well, and it goes back to, and I saw this a lot on your website, that one person can make a difference with your kindness.
Absolutely.
And I think as a child, you saw that when you had been just through the most horrific tragedy losing your dad, and you walked into the school and you were just embraced with love. And there was a teacher or a principal or a group of people that came together who made that happen for you and really, just set your life on a different path. Did you ever trace it back to find out who kind of spearheaded that?
I did.
You share.
The person that spearheaded it was the school secretary. And I didn't know her that well, but her name was Christine Drummond, and I have tried to find her many, many years later. I don't know where she is, but I do know that as I continued through school, I became very, very close with her. And we would spend time together outside of school. There was still a lot of chaos in my family after my father passed away, and she saw it. It was fascinating. Like, she was really tuned in to the kids at school. She was tuned into me, to my brother, and she would often, call my mom and say, "Why don't I have the kids over this weekend for a barbecue? You do what you need to do. You're welcome to come." That kind of thing, which as a child I didn't recognize what was going on, but later in life I realized she was not only sort of keeping us a little bit sheltered from what was happening inside the house, but she was also helping my mom by giving her the time she needed. And she was the one who put together this really lovely welcome back to the school.
So good.
I know.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, you have an amazing TED Talk that I'm going to link to this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you talk about people who are perpetually kind, and I thought that was fun. And if you can just talk about kind of there's a physical benefit to that.
Absolutely. Yes. They have done studies, mostly up in Canada, where they've looked at people who do a certain number of acts of kindness during a certain period of time. And what they found was they would actually take blood samples from them. They checked their cortisol levels, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of these things. They saw that over time, the people who were doing, I think it was like 1 or 2 acts of kindness a day over 6 weeks or something like that. Their stress levels went down, so their cortisol levels went down. Over time, they did a longer period of study that showed heart health was better, depression went down, anxiety went down, overall wellness went up. It was fascinating to look at. There are many, many studies now about the benefits of kindness on our bodies, on our physiology. And at the time, they were relatively new studies. For me, I had gone through a period of postpartum depression that I was on antidepressants, and I realized before I even had this job that I always felt better when I was doing something for others, whether it was volunteering, donating money, whatever it was, babysitting for a friend, anything like that. I just thought, this is what's making me feel better. Doing something where I have a sense of purpose, where I feel that I'm serving others, and my body reacted to it. And that's what happens with kindness. And the best part is, you don't have to do the act of kindness necessarily. You can be the receiver, or you can even just witness it, to have the exact same physiological reaction in your body. We just experienced this the other day. I was with my daughter and my stepdaughter prom dress shopping, and we were getting an early start on it. So she must have tried on 20 dresses. And in the dressing room was 2 other young girls trying on dresses, and they were all having fun talking to each other. Oh, that looks great! I love that. And as we got to the cash register, they were just in front of us, and the girl in front of us said, "Can I put this on layaway?" And that is not a word I've heard in a long time. I just thought, I remember people putting stuff on layaway when I was younger. And the woman said, well, we don't do layaway. I can hold it for 24 hours. And my daughter kind of nudged me, and I said, we'll get it for you. Because she had talked about how her dress or her dance was next week, the specific one that she was going to. And she was, overwhelmed, and we were having fun, we're chatting. But what I realized was the cashier was tearing up. So she was the witness to this experience, and she was just like, this is the most wonderful thing, and I thought, this is literally what we talk to people about, is this sort of triangulation where the cashier didn't have anything to do with it other than, ringing it up. But she got involved in this whole thing, and all of us hugged at the end of it. So we saw.
That's a play by your daughter to be like, hey, Mom.
Yeah, Mom, get it. Yeah.
We gotta walk the walk here.
That's right. That's
such a great story. And I think that's a lesson for us all to be more tuned in.
Yeah.
We're kind of just oblivious a lot of times, head down on our phone, not paying attention, thinking about what I'm going to cook for dinner. And I was at a book signing this weekend and standing there, and I struck up conversation with the guy beside me, and he just was, we had the greatest chat. And I was like, I need to do that more often. A lot of times we just kind of stand there like in our own little worlds, and just say, hey, what brings you here? And
it's a lost art, I think, just striking up conversation. I think people are taken aback a little, like, what are you trying to sell me, or what, but I watched it with my daughters, and I thought, I don't do that often. They're in the dressing room having a great time with anybody who came in there to try on a dress, and they were all complimenting each other, saying, red is the best color on you, and all. And I thought, I need to do more of that. I need to just compliment people randomly. I need to strike up conversations, because I think that's part of what has created some of the divide between us, is that we're not starting those conversations and we're not listening to each other.
That's so good. And I think I was going to ask you about kindness and creating community connection. And that story illustrates that so well, because sometimes it takes just the smallest little shred of commonality to unite us. So I
Absolutely.
belong to a really dynamic Rotary Club here. It's called Alpharetta Rotary, and it's just, we're from all different backgrounds and ages and political affiliations, and it's like, but we're united under that Rotary umbrella, and it kind of it helps to keep things in line, and it's like the things we're getting so worked up over, primarily political divisiveness. It's such a waste of time and
Yep.
energy. That other person is not the enemy. They're not.
Right, right.
And a lot of times you don't even know until they kind of, divulge what they are. One way or
Exactly.
then it's up to you to choose. Am I going to let this create a divide within us? It's like
Absolutely.
so unnecessary, don't you think?
Absolutely. We have the ability to respond in those moments where you might have had a lovely conversation with somebody at dinner or wherever, and then you find out who they voted for or whatever it is, and you just change your mind, and a wall goes up, and I realize it's not easy to just say, okay, well, yeah, no, we're fine, we're still fine. I understand that there's a lot of assumption and judgment that goes into that of, well, if you voted for this person, this means this. And I think we have to stop doing that. All these assumptions about why people do what they do, and come back to the reality that, as you said earlier in the beginning, that we are all going through various things in our personal life, and let's focus on how we can support each other versus whatever assumptions we're making about each other.
And what is that famous quote that be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle? When you kind of keep that top of mind, you just don't know what people are going through when you look
That's
at
right.
them. And we should not be judging or trying to figure out. We should be kind.
Exactly. And it's such an easy thing to do. And so that's what we're trying to do with folks, is to say, there's a million traits we could look at in each other. Let's not focus on the one that divides us.
Interested to know your thoughts on compliments and kindness, and how we're just quick to kind of bat those away. What say you about that?
Yeah, it's that's always an interesting one, that accepting a compliment is difficult for people. I think that I try to tell my daughter, like she's very much, she'll just randomly turn to people and go, I love what you're wearing. I love your hair. I love it, And I love that about her. But I've said to her, do you often compliment your friends about, deeper things like, I love that you always speak up for the underprivileged, or there are things like that. And she's like, I guess I never really say that. And I'm like, think about how meaningful it is. If somebody says, I love your shirt, and then somebody else says to her, I love that you always work with special needs kids and help them do what they need to do to become successful and strong. She's like, yeah, I'd much rather hear the second one. So I think compliments are, they're always hard for us to hear, but I think what we need to do is start accepting them a little more, and just, even if your answer is, thank you, I appreciate that, instead of, no, I'm not that, don't diminish it. Somebody's telling you something wonderful about you. Allow that, soak that in, take it in.
And if you feel a compliment bubbling up in your heart that needs to say it, I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we just worry about being misconstrued, or that, might come out like we're flirting or being flirted, or whatever. But say the nice thing.
Absolutely. It can change somebody's whole day.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, I like your glasses. And I do like your glasses.
Thank you.
Okay, here's a biggie because I think online can become a very unkind place. Do you have any tips for online etiquette for kindness in that space?
Yes, and this is something I work on myself. So, I'm on social media a lot, mostly for work. I have really curated my feed to be positive. If I want to see the news, I will seek that out. But I don't want to see all of that popping up in my feed. So that's my first suggestion: is really curate what it is you're looking at. And the more positivity that you're getting on there, the easier your day is. You're seeing, inspirational quotes or crafts that you like, or if you're interested in plants and, whatever those things are that give you joy and energy, put that in front of you. If you're online and you're commenting on something, or you're in a discussion that might be difficult, I think that respect is the biggest piece, where you can respectfully disagree with somebody and say that. So, I understand where you're coming from. I don't see it that way, but I appreciate how you could see it that way. And that kind of language versus, you don't know what you're talking about and I can't believe you think that. You're not going to change anybody's mind.
And there you go.
So
Never.
you don't
You're
need
not
to.
going to win.
Yeah, you're not going to change anybody's mind. I mean, you might, but you're definitely not going to do it with negativity and nastiness.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, let's talk about the foundation and all of the tools you have online and some of the details of the programs you all have going on. You mentioned the school program, and that's
Yeah,
just great work, but I'd love to learn more about all
sure.
that's going on.
Sure. Well, everything we have on the website, it's randomactsofkindness.org. Everything on there is completely free of charge. We have this research-based curriculum that is pre-K through 12th grade, and it teaches the basic comments of kindness. It's respect, responsibility, integrity, inclusion, caring, and courage. And when we talk about courage, we're really talking about vulnerability. That's how we define courage, is often through standing up for somebody that might be different, or saying you're sorry for something you did, that kind of thing. We have a very similar program for the workplace, where we try to help people create a kinder workspace, and we do it through fun activities, whether it's like you can do a workplace bingo challenge with your team. There is a personality quiz on there, so you can go on there and see what is your main kindness component. So maybe when I take it, it's courage. I am an open book. I am happy to talk about anything, and so I find vulnerability to be the thing I connect the most to. My colleague, it's integrity. She wants to make sure she does what she says she's going to do. She's going to, if somebody drops their wallet in the hallway, she'll be the one to grab it and go, hey, you dropped this. So I encourage people to go on there and just have fun, see what's on there. We have a group of people called the Ractivists, which are the Random Acts of Kindness activists, and they are folks who really go above and beyond and are, have incorporated this deeply into their lives. So we invite you to come be a Ractivist. Everything on there is free. There's tons of videos and games and all kinds of things.
And I loved the calendars you put together with daily prompts, and some of them are quite creative. And as a content creator, I'm like, wow, y'all did some really hard, good work on
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, we do that every year, and every year I'm like, I don't know how do we come up with more and different ones. But that's the whole thing, right? It's 365 days of kindness. If you think about it, that's, there's millions of ways to be kind. So we're only giving you a little nutshell of ideas you can do. And of course, we don't expect that anybody's going to do all of them. But there are momentary acts of kindness. There are bigger acts of kindness, like, start a coat drive, that kind of thing. And as you say, there are multiple calendars. So there's a calendar for the workplace. there's one for schools, and then there's one for just home, community.
That's so good. Well, I love to close out these conversations with your thoughts on my tagline, which is let go. And I think in terms of philanthropy and kind of getting involved, a lot of times it's just kind of a let go mindset. So I would love your thoughts. In your best let go, what does that mean? So say the words let go. And then if you could just unpack it a little bit.
Okay, let me think about that. So, let go of all of the assumptions that you have about other people and be kind.
Boom. Easy as that. We
It's that simple.
overcomplicate things too much. Okay, Brooke, tell me again your website.
randomactsofkindness.org.
Awesome. Well, I love this discussion and the work you're doing, and excited to put this out to our people. And let's get some more kindness going in the world. Lord
Thank
knows
you
we
so much.
need it. And you've got a couple. You got some big events coming up just
Yes.
right around.
Yes, February 9th is the start of Random Acts of Kindness Week. So we will be putting a ton of stuff out there during Random Acts of Kindness Week. And then, funny enough, there is a Random Acts of Kindness Day on the 17th of February. So we will also be celebrating that. And yeah, please get on the website and just have fun on there. See what you connect with, and feel free to download or share it with other people. And we also have, you can sign up for our daily dose of kindness. So you'll get an email every day with just a little inspirational quote or idea.
Keep up the great work, and let's stay in touch. And there's also a World Kindness Day in November.
In November, yep. November 13th is World Kindness Day.
So lots of opportunity to shine the light of kindness. Keep up the great work and keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
I've so enjoyed our time together.
Me too.